Good afternoon, dear participants. So we are about to start our third session of the day. That we have our resource person, our expert for this session, who has already joined in. The session will be on power of attitude, and it will be taken up by Mrs. Priyanka Arora, madam. This is our second session in this particular faculty development program. Uh, I welcome ma'am. Ma'am, are you there? Are you able to hear? Priyanka?
Yes, I am.
Welcome. Yes, I welcome you once again, to this faculty development program for your second session here. Already we have introduced her in the first session. She is a life coach, a mentor, a counselor with AntarMann, and she is also the family court counselor with Rajasthan High Court. And she's quite experienced in providing this kind of workshop, counseling, and already we have seen her expertise in the first session. So today we will experience another brainstorming session for the next 2 hours. So without making any delay, I would like to hand over the session to Priyanka ma'am so that she can deliver her talk. So I welcome you once again, ma'am. Do take over, and it's your time for the next 2 hours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aradhna, for giving this platform, an amazing audience, and really a wonderful topic to talk upon, the power of attitude. Thank you so much. Yes, once again, we all are here together. So a very good afternoon to all of you present here. An amazing audience, a learned audience, I must say. So today, when we are going to talk upon the power of attitude, we are not directly start the topic for today's session. Before, let's start with an activity which is going to be something about the gratitude or gratefulness. Since I believe in the power of gratitude so much. So before starting today's session, I'm going to show that activity which you all will be taking few minutes, and then you will be doing this activity deliberately. And I will be thankful to all of you for doing this activity. It's not a very complicated one, but I always believe small actions make big differences in our life. So here is the activity, and please do take some effort to complete all these 4 questions. It will really give you a positive mindset. That is my personal opinion or my personal experience, that I always prefer to do all these gratitude exercises before anything I used to start, or before sleeping, or my day starts with such activities of gratitude. So please do a favor to me. Take your 5 minutes and write down the answers for these simple 4 questions. And then we will just meet after 5 minutes. Once you will completed these 4 questions, raise your hand one by one so that we can start today's session. So I'm requesting you all to complete this activity. And this is very simple. It says, today was so great because we always look at the negative sides of our life, our day, because our mind, our brain is more prone towards negativity bias. It always look upon the negative things, the negative events, the negative situations of our life. So here is the first question, which says, today was so great because. The second one, it says, I'm so thankful for. Sometimes we forget to be grateful for few people, few events, and few things in our life. It is always very important to keep them saying like, thank you for this, thank you for that. As we all are present here, I must say, we have few parachute packers in our life. If I'm saying parachute packers, we all are present here, and we all are enjoying, like you all are enjoying the life, we all are enjoying the life. So this is all because of few people in our life, and they are called as parachute packers. Someone might be having their husband, their wives, the parents, the children, some other people, their guides, their mentors, so many good people in their life. So just give a pause today, just for a couple of minutes, and think about them. Who are your parachute packers? Who are the ones who keeps on motivating you by their efforts, by their actions, by their words, or by any means? Who are the people so progressive behind you and motivates you to do so? So please take some time before while you are writing. I'll keep on speaking. There is a story in which aircraft pilot, the fighter aircraft pilot, after his retirement, went to a restaurant and just having his meals. All of a sudden, a person came there and then he said, "Hello, sir. You might not be recognizing me, but I'm the one who packed your parachute when you took your last flight, which crashed. It was an incident happened when an aircraft pilot, the fighter aircraft pilot, went to the thing like that when the aircraft got crashed and the parachute was packed by some of the persons, some of the parachute packers." Very simple story, and it says we all have few parachute packers in our life, and we sometimes fails to thanks or to say thank you to them or be grateful to them. So this is something, a very simple exercise, a kind request to all of you to complete it so that we can start with today's session. The third point says these are the most important things to me. It might be some relationships, it might be some materialistic things, it might be some thing which is important to you, but that really will tell you something about your thought pattern, your processing, and your perception towards life. And that's really more important, that you should know what is the most important thing to you. The another one, which is again a wonderful question, I always say, life is so great because I'm alive, because I have my family, because I can learn, because I can breathe. There are so many incidences in our life when we fail to recognize the basics of our life and keep on wondering or keep on cribbing for all those things which we do not have. So we should always be so grateful to our life before starting our day or before doing anything, or in any negative situation. We can feel good about thinking few good things of our life. Similarly, a professor having a class, and he decided to just take a, you can write on your own notepads, and if you wish, we can just have few participants or couple of participants who can join us unmuting themselves, and they can just share their things with us. Just like the last session, we had a rapid fire round at the end. We will start today's session. Okay, yes. If you are done with it, you can unmute yourself and we can have a wonderful, amazing answers from your side. Yes.
Very good afternoon, ma'am. Shantanu Basu from Calcutta Institute of Technology, Kolkata. The activity one, the questionnaire or whatever the means, say, fill in the blanks types of things are there. Actually, today was great, so great because I got another day to live in this earth and to in this tenure of my lifetime ever. I don't know. Actually, I believe in say Indianness of that so many lives or whatever. But this tenure, this another day, so that I can do something eventful work for future or my society or for self or whatever. Somehow it may help in some way the cases of development. Next, number two, my institute allow me on duty, so I am thankful for them. And number three, relationship with my family and others at workplace and anywhere surrounding me. Number four, life is so great because every time there are new avenues and scope for development, ma'am. This is in brief. Thank you.
Wow, that was really good to listen from you. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves and they can be a part of this activity, I would love to hear them. I would love to listen them. So please take your time and at least 2 more. I always prefer 3 from the audience to talk upon all these things. So anybody from the
There's
audience?
some answer in the chat box also, I think.
Yeah, chat box is there, but if it is possible,
Somebody has already written it in chat box, you can check.
okay, I just check. Okay. Today was great because I'm happy and healthy. I'm thankful for everything that God has bestowed upon me. Most important to me is peace of mind and gratefulness. Life is great because we all are blessed with so many materialistic and non-materialistic things. Wow. Wonderful. Great answers by the great audience. Yes, of course, it is an activity which you can do at any time of your day just to make yourself feel positive and act positive, because these days when we all have been said to think positive, this is not only enough to think positive. Positive actions are equally important. So positive thinking plus positive actions or positive execution is important, and gratitude or gratefulness empowers your positive thinking and positive action. So here with this activity, I'm going to start with today's session on the power of attitude. So let's have the first slide. And yes, this is okay. Before starting, again, this is my favorite habit that I keep on asking and keep on engaging my audience just to make the session more interactive and more joyous. Can you please tell me what is attitude from your point of view? Though this definition is written over here, and this is a more the technical definition. I want from all of you to just tell me about what attitude is according to you. In just simpler words, in simpler concepts, what is attitude? Is it a perception? Okay, I'll ask you yes or no kind of thing. Is it a perception? I mean to say, is perception and attitude are same? You can type yes or no. Okay, tell me, is perception and attitude same? Tell me, is it same? Okay, attitude is state of mind. Cool. And more answers I'm looking forward. Overall thoughts, feelings, and behavior towards the world around us. Absolutely. What I asked, is attitude and perception same? Because sometimes we use these terms interchangeably, which is actually not the right concept. Whatever we are going to study or whatever we are going to go through in this session, it might be possible that most of you must be knowing about all these things previously, but we will throw some light on those few myths or few things which is actually being undertaken, like attitude and perceptions are same or something like that. So tell me one thing, is attitude and perception same, so that things will be clearer? Okay, yes, of course. Okay, I'm so happy to have so good active audience. What is perception then? Please tell me, what is perception from your point of view? What is perception? Let's make it more interactive. Let's make it more active one, so that the things will not get monotonous or some sleepy vibes will be there. Yes, what is the meaning of perception? Tell me. Feeling or realization. Okay. Okay, still we are getting answers for the activity. That's so good of all of you. Perception is a feeling. Okay. Fine. Is attitude by birth? I will be asking few things. Way in which something is interpreted. Yes, course, this is the right one. Perception depends on our perspective. Absolutely, they both are the synonym words. Okay. Is attitude by birth? My next question is our own way of thinking, correct? The perception is our own way of thinking, how we perceive the things. Okay. Is attitude by birth? Can we take it as like it is by birth or something? It is innate kind of thing. Okay. 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 Most of the answers are no. Fine. Now then, let's start, because I can feel the active audience out there. I can feel that the attention is totally here in this session. Then what is attitude? It is a set of beliefs that a person holds in relation to an attitude object, where an attitude object is a person, thing, event, or issue. For example, there are two people or two person, two males. They both are going on a cycle. The one is feeling frustrated, feeling upset by looking at the people on the road traveling in their own cars, on their own two-wheelers or something like that. And he is constantly cribbing, constantly feeling negative about his situation or his resource. And that is the cycle. On the other hand, the other person, he is thinking the very different way, the very different form, and that is, oh wow, I'm enjoying this cycling, I'm having the good oxygen, I'm having a good exercise while I'm cycling, I'm saving the fuel, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. That all positive perceptions about life. So the positive perception leads to a positive outcome. One thing I would like to clear is attitude is an outcome of our perception. How we feel, how we perceive the situation, it leads to an attitude that may be positive, negative, or neutral. It solely depends on how we feel or how we perceive the situation, event, or the perception or the person. The one thing, I will keep on throwing lights on the most important points at the very first so that the things will be clearer, and I will keep on repeating these things with the session. One thing that is very important is a perception may change so easily, like a perception can change frequently, but attitude takes time to get changed. So that's a major difference between a perception and an attitude. That perception gets changed within a fraction. Like, okay, fine. If for example, there is another story. I keep on telling stories about that a person, a child is traveling, a father and a son is traveling in a train. Another traveler is also sitting by the side of this father-son duo. The son is actually giving a very different kind of experience, a different kind of expressions by looking at the trees, by looking at the outside environment, by looking at the animals and many more things which are seen outside the window of the train. The person, the next traveler, is amused by the behavior of that child, and he is thinking, oh my God, what the child is doing, such a weird thing he's doing. Why he's so joyous by looking at just normal trees, normal this or normal that. So he was like very curious to know about this behavior of a child. So he asked the father why this child is behaving so weirdly, why he is reacting to these things which are so normal, and he's reacting like this. The perception is very wrong, like this child is having some mental disability or something like that. When the father said, my son got his eyes operated today only. My son was having some vision issues since childhood, since birth, and only today he is able to see the outer world. That's why he is reacting this way. Immediately the perception changed. Immediately the perception of that person towards the child, it changed. So that's the very simpler way to explain how a perception change in a fraction of second or in a shorter period of time. But attitude is something different which takes time to develop and it takes time to get changed. So now we are talking about what is attitude. So next slide, please, so that we can move forward for more things on attitude. Fine. So this is the nature of attitude. Attitudes are not innate. It means they are not by birth. They are formed or learned by the individual. Attitude implies subject-object relationship. It means they are always formed in relation to certain person, group, or institution. Thus, attitude are not just internal factors without any relationship to the environment. Next slide, please. This is the most important thing about the nature of attitude. This is again the attitude's nature. It is related to image, thought, and external object. For example, upon hearing a Pakistan attack on Indian territory, every Indian developed the negative attitude towards Pakistan. In this attitude involved in thought that by attacking India, Pakistan has made a most unjustified and immoral move. The next point, it says attitude guide the behavior of the individual in one particular direction. For example, due to negative attitude towards the Pakistan aggressors, the individual was prepared to do his best to help the Indian soldiers who were fighting them. Since attitude directs the activity of an individual, his reaction can be predicted by knowing his attitude. So we are talking about how attitude is formed or the nature of attitude, which simply says it is innate and it is something learned and it is related to image, thought, and external object. It guides the behavior of the individual in one particular direction. So if I give you an example, what kind of person you are, can you just frame your image in your mind by looking at this term called attitude? How you think and how you behave. Since in the last session, we talk upon the cycle of thinking, emotions, and behavior. Think, emotion, and behavior. How we think influences our emotions, and then it influences our behavior. So in a very one simpler thing, if you can decide that what kind of person I am. Are you a positive person? Like with a positive attitude, with a positive perception? Just take a pause and think about yourself. Have you learned the positive part of attitude, or your learning was something which grows into a negative attitude? Since we all know attitude is more of a learned behavior, and with the next slide we will come to know that what kind of learnings helps in formation of our attitude. But before that, I would like you all to know about what kind of person you are, with a positive perception or a positive, not or, positive perception and a positive attitude, because we cannot use or. Perception and attitude are quite different. Attitude is the outcome of perception. Okay, we are getting the answers, sometimes positive, but most of the time negative. Okay, I would like you all to please be free to use the chat box, the comment box, so that it will be easier for all of you to make yourself comfortable with the session. And being a counselor, I always ask my clients to feel the comfort zone, feel the safer zone, to have that emotional disclosure. Emotional disclosure is something where we can think or we can speak about how we are thinking and how we are behaving for certain events or certain situations. So if you are feeling comfortable, so you can just use the comment box and you can write that what kind of person you perceive yourself, as a positive one or a negative one. It can be a neutral also, so that we can come to know more about you. If you want, you can, otherwise it's okay. Sometimes positive. We are getting the answers. sometimes. Let's check what's the frequency of the answer, like how many are yes, how many are neutral, how many are negative. Let's check. So I ask you all to please feel free to use the comment box, and it's a mandatory question. So please write down. If it is positive, it's good. If it is negative, not a big deal. We can change and we can learn the positive attitude with times and by learning many more things. So yes, I'm waiting for all the participants to just use the comment box to write either positive or negative or neutral, any three of these attitudes. What you think you are, a positive, a negative, or a neutral. I'll wait for everybody to write down, okay? Sometimes positive and sometimes negative. It means, okay, it's a neutral and the balanced one, okay? Positive view, okay? Yes. Okay, I'll wait for a few more, at least 5 more. Let's have 5 more replies on how you perceive yourself as a person. A positive attitude or a negative attitude or the mixed one. Optimist. Okay. Good to know this. Hope and optimism. Again, I will say these are the two important positive emotions which keeps us motivated, which keeps us on high frequency. Yes, I think 4 more. Yes. Many times negative. Okay. Mixed and very submissive. Okay. 2 more, and then we'll start talking on these responses or these answers of yours, and then only we can move forward with the next slide. 2 more replies. Okay, fine, no issues. So if most of you said it's a mixed kind of thing, positive and negative. It's a balance or a mixed. Yes, this is absolutely correct that according to the situation, we keeps on reacting or we keeps on behaving or we keeps on acting. But many times negative or a submissive personality is a matter of concern, or we should think upon why negative. Why we keeps on behaving a negative, or why our approach is negative towards life or towards certain situation or an event. Before answering these things where we have this negative attitude or submissive approach towards life, I have a very common anecdote kind of thing or metaphor. We can use as a metaphor examples. If you keep 3 burners and the boiling water in all these 3 burners. One of the utensil of boiling water, just keep the potato. Another one is eggs, and the third one is coffee beans. The boiling water here defines the situations. The eggs, potatoes, and the coffee beans. Different personalities. We as different subjects. The potato gets soft, mashy. We can easily mash it. The eggs got hard. We can peel it and we can cut it easily, which was liquid before and now it is solidified. The third one, this is coffee beans. Coffee beans, they do not change their shape, they do not change their texture, even they imparted their color, their aroma, and their taste to the boiling water, which is symbolizing as the situation or the event. Here comes the answer. We, different personalities, different subjects, we keeps on reacting to the same situation in a very different way. Because I always say life is 10% what happens to us and 90% how we react to it. Life is not something like that 100% it is reacting to us. No, it is just 10% which happens to us and 90% how we react to it. The sole thing is how we are reacting to the life situation. Everything depends on the reaction given to it. It might be the same situation, but the reactions are different. For example, two men riding on a cycle. One is cribbing on the situation, why I'm riding on a cycle. People are traveling in their own cars, their Mercedes, their limousines, etc. On the second note, the same person is feeling good about he is having, and that's the major difference between the perception and the attitude, which is the outcome of perception. So if someone out there feeling so negative about the situation, I must say it's not an overnight process that if I say something and tomorrow the person will be changed or transformed. No, 1 degree change in yourself will change or will give you or will impart you the 360-degree change or the overall change for a period of time or in a year. So just think about it. If you are thinking negative, how you are thinking is more important to know. Think about what you are thinking is the most important process we all should follow, because this is something we do not do. Think about the thinking, what we are thinking. So when you got to know what we are thinking or what you are thinking, you will definitely observe the emotion, the feeling which is troubling you or which is holding you back. Then the behavior comes. So this is something, attitude is also something like that. How you think, how you feel, and how you act or behave. So behavior is the attitude. The main thing, the main root cause is your thoughts. So if you are saying you are thinking negative, please note down the events that made you think negative, the situation or the people. If there are few people in your surroundings, in your life, they are constantly triggering your negative emotions, your negative thought. Just take a pause, hold on the moment and write down who are these people who are holding you back, who are giving you the negative vibes or who are giving you the self-limiting beliefs. And then the situations. If there are certain situations in which you keeps on feeling stressed out, you keeps on feeling negative, please try to stop it either by doing something or by changing the place or changing the area. I always use an acronym, a very commonly used acronym, and here it suits aptly, and that acronym is CAR. That says change the changeables. If you can change the situation or a person, change it if it is changeable. Accept the unchangeables. Accepting and adapting. It takes time, but if you do it consciously, if you accept it consciously, if you adapt to it consciously, definitely you will feel better, because you are not able to change that. And there are few people, there are few situations, there are few events in our life which we cannot change. Then what to do? Keeps on stressed out, keeps on anxious, or keeps on thinking negative about that particular situation, a person, or an event? No. Give a conscious acceptance. The third one, the R. This is the most important point which I always pursue in my life, and that is raise above the unchangeables. If you cannot change them, raise your standards, raise your things above the unchangeables. And that is going to be the life-changing, the life improving phenomena or process for all of you, those who think that they are constantly thinking negative. Because again, I would say it's not an overnight process, it's not a miracle, but 1 degree change towards your thought patterns, towards anything else which is stressing out, which is triggering you, it gives you a good transformation. It gives you a good positive change in your life as well as in your attitude, or I must say in your attitude so as in your life, because we all know that our attitude makes our life or it can break also. So this is the importance of thinking positive and acting positive. These days, when positive psychology is really doing good, this is the most youngest branch of psychology given by Martin Seligman, the positive psychology. Whenever we talk about anything related to psychology these days, I always try to incorporate few things or few strategies of positive psychology, which says positive thinking is not only sufficient. Positive action is always important. And if you really want to be positive, for those who are saying that they have negative thinking, again, I'm giving you an acronym that is called as PERMA, that called as PERMA. Anybody out there knows something about that PERMA acronym? Please raise your hand or give me that an idea that you know about this PERMA acronym. Anybody out there, if you know, have you any idea about the positive psychology? The learned audience out there, I'm so happy to have you all here with me. Please tell me any idea about positive psychology. You can raise your hand. Am I audible to all of you? If yes, then raise your hand. Okay. Cool. Fine. So, any idea about positive psychology? You can text yes or no. This is just to make you all interactive, or just to check am I audible or not. Is okay, fine. No, this is the most youngest branch of psychology, which always emphasizes on the strengths, character strengths, and virtues. It has been always said that we should focus on our strengths and weaknesses equally. But nowadays, with the emergence of positive psychology, it has been said that if we are going to focus on our strengths, definitely we can make a better life for ourselves. When we are talking about how to inculcate the positive attitude, with few questions or few answers out here, with my thing that do you have a positive attitude or a negative attitude, I have again a beautiful acronym which is PERMA, that is PERMA. And PERMA is one of the most important aspect of positive psychology or science of happiness, which says if you have these 5 ingredients in your life, definitely you can have a positive attitude or a positive outlook towards your life. And definitely you will have the most ultimate goal of our life, and that is, can you please tell me what's the ultimate goal of our life? Yes, what's the ultimate goal of our life? Anybody from your side? What's the ultimate goal of our life? Anything, you can write down anything. Yes, the first answer, the perfect answer. Yes, absolutely. How many of you are saying happiness? Yes, please write it in the chat box. How many of you says that it is happiness? The ultimate goal is happiness. Come on. Fine. Yes, of course, the ultimate goal is happiness. And when we are seeking for this ultimate goal, I always go for this acronym which says P stands for positive emotions. E stands for engagement. R stands for relationships. M stands for meaningful life. And A stands for acknowledgement. Again, I'm repeating, P stands for positive emotions. If we are feeling or we are thinking and we are acting positively, definitely we are moving towards the happiness scale. E stands for engagement. If we are engaged in certain activities which gives us a state of flow, definitely we are looking forward for more happiness in our life. R, relationships. Yes, indeed, relationships plays a very important role in our happiness. M here stands for meaningful life. If we have a meaning in our life, definitely nobody can make us think negative. It's not like that we cannot think negative. Negative thinking is also a part of our life. Sometimes we can think negative, but if we keep on this type of thinking or this pattern with us, it's not good for us. The M says meaningful life, and I quote an example of Japan, that is Okinawa Island, the day prior to yesterday, and that says if you have a purpose of life, if you have a meaningful life, definitely you can lead a happy, productive life. Just like in Okinawa Island, people live beyond hundreds and they are called as centenarians. So this is the importance of meaningful life. The A, acknowledgement. If you are working constantly and you are not getting any kind of acknowledgement, you are not getting appreciation, definitely the motivation lies down. Definitely the urge to work more or to work more effectively gets down. So most of the time we use this PERMA to make our attitude positive. So here it was just answered as part of the answers getting as negative attitude or negative thinking. So please try to adopt these few amazing things or amazing qualities in your life, and they are positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaningful life, and acknowledgement. Regarding acknowledgement, if there are no one, if there is no one to appreciate you for what you did, just take some time and appreciate yourself for whatever you did. If you have given your 100% to certain action, please always make a ritual to appreciate and acknowledge yourself. That is going to change your thought process, your self-perception. Because in the next coming slides, we will talk upon how self-perception also creates an impact on our attitude. Why I am explaining all these things at a gist, because I just wanted you all to know about the essential points of attitude, which is not being explained only with the help of slides. These are the most important aspects of the attitude where we can form our positive attitude by creating all these positive things in our life. Because as we all know, positive attitude is the ingredient, the main ingredient for the successful life ahead. So now we are going to start the next slide. Let me just check what's there with my slide. Just a minute. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, next slide, please. Fine. If we were talking much about the attitude, here are the few sources. And when we are talking about the attitude formation, again, I would say our parents played a very important role in attitude formation. And it is followed by peers and media. And four major sources of attitude formation are: the one is classical conditioning, the second is operant conditioning, the third is cognitive appraisals, and the fourth is observational learning. Okay, fine. Now, before I start explaining all these four areas or the four sources of attitude formation, can you please tell me, anybody have some idea about the classical conditioning? Anybody? What is classical conditioning? Okay. Can you please just tell me what is your idea of classical conditioning?
It was a theory which was given by Ivan Pavlov, and he
Mhm.
tried to train his dogs before
Yes.
conditioning and after conditioning. What are the responses? That is what is. Uh, he tried to condition his dogs for salivation. He tried
Yes.
to ring a bell, then present a piece of meat, and
Mm-hmm.
then they tried to salivate. They started to salivate. Then after some time, he thought that without giving them the piece of meat also, with the just the ring of the bell, the
Mm-hmm.
dog started to salivate. So this is what in the organization behavior I've learned this theory actually,
Mm-hmm.
that if you try to condition the responses of the humans or the employees, you can first show them the result, and afterwards, without even showing the result, they can be classically conditioned. You can condition their responses.
Absolutely. Wonderfully explained, Miss Sanyukta. It was beautifully
Ma'am, it is
explained. Yeah.
Prerna. It's
Okay.
Prerna.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. It's Prerna. Neutral stimulus is the ringing of the bell. As Prerna ma'am said, neutral stimulus, bell rings. So the dog responded nothing. No response at all. Then food as unconditioned stimulus is presented. The dog salivated. On the other hand, the conditioning started, bell rings and food given during the conditioning process. After conditioning, as she said, as Prerna said, that motivation factors has been given to the employees and then they have been conditioned to work effectively. Am I right, Ms. Prerna?
Ji ma'am, yes.
Okay, so this is the very important thing that we all have been conditioned in various forms. It may be classical, it may be operant, or it may be in other forms. Classical conditioning is one of the most important kind of source of attitude which we all should know. It's clearly explained to all of you. Next is operant conditioning. Last slide, please. Next slide. Next. Yes. Operant conditioning. Last slide, please. Okay. Operant conditioning. Now, this is again the best kind of attitude learning source. And this is operant conditioning. And again, a wonderfully used tool in organizational behavior. How many of you have heard about this operant conditioning? Anybody? Okay. This kind of conditioning we used to use in various sectors or various fields. Basically, if we talk about children, if we talk about school, or if we talk about colleges, we used to reinforce them. We used to reward them for their behaviors, which is actually good, and we used to punish them for a bad behavior. The behavior which is being positively reinforced get into practice, and the child will show the same behavior whenever he or she being reinforced. On the other hand, if that behavior is being punished, definitely that behavior will be diminished, or that behavior will gradually not shown in the child's behavior. And when we say attitude is also a kind of behavior, it gradually diminishes. Operant conditioning is also one of the most important source for attitude formation. Third one is cognitive appraisals. These are the subjective interpretation made by an individual to stimuli. This, if I say, this is something like self-perception. We can perceive two things, or two people can perceive same thing differently. It's totally a subjective interpretation. For example, if there are a number of audience here in this session, everybody must be having a different subjective interpretation about the subject and about the session. So this is one of the most common example wherever we go in a group, whatever is being taught to us or whatever things are going on, it is something, if we are interpreting the things according to our own thought process, our own perceptions, definitely it creates a very different kind of attitudes. The fourth one is observational learning. It is the most important learning. Again, it is given by Albert Bandura. And we say that children are the observational learners. So do we are at certain point of time or certain life situations, that we observe the behaviors of our role models and we imitate the same one. And it creates our attitude. So these are the four major sources of our attitude formation: the classical conditioning, the operant conditioning, cognitive appraisals, and observational learning. In classical, we learn by the association of the neutral stimuli and the conditioned stimuli. Then operant, we learn by the rewarding or punishments. Cognitive appraisals are the self-perception. There are various theories on all these sources of attitude formation, just like self-perception theory, cognitive dissonance theory, and many more. Since we all are learning the power of attitude, theories might be useful, but not that much, because here we are not going to crack any exam related to psychology or these theories. Observational learning, as you all know, again, we observe any behavior and we imitate. Again, one thing I must say, observational learning is also very effective when the observed behavior, the learned behavior get reinforced. This or that behavior gets into practice more and more times. So these are the sources. Move forward to the next slide. Again, just like we had the last slide, these are the attitude formation parts, and that is mere exposure. As we all know, that the more we get exposed to certain things or certain situations of our life or certain people, if they are positive and we are getting exposed day to day, it gives or it imparts the positivity in us also. As we all know, we have been said most of the time, surround yourself with the positive people. This is the basic cause. This is the root cause why we have been said like that. Because the more we get exposed to certain people in our life, the more positive behavior we all will practice in our life also. So mere exposure simply says the more you get exposed to certain positive objects, it may be person, it may be situation, it may be event, you will inculcate that kind of attitude or that kind of behavior in yourself. Associative learning, as again I must say, that is classical conditioning, operant conditioning. These are the two ways of learning and framing your attitude. Self-perception, we just talk upon that how you perceive yourself. This is a particularly subjective interpretation of the person, situation, or event. When we talk upon the functional approach, again, this is the most, just a minute, this is, yes. Functional approach is the most complex source of attitude formation. It says attitudes are formed on the basis of degree to which they satisfy different psychological needs. Can you please tell me what are the different psychological needs? Any idea about the psychological needs? At least you can write no so that I can...
Ma'am, basic psychological needs to satisfy our hunger, to have shelter, to have security or
Okay.
belongingness.
Okay,
that is what psychologically we need.
That is
if I'm not
Maslow's
wrong.
hierarchy, need of
Yes,
hierarchy.
ma'am.
Yeah, wonderful answer. But here we will talk upon different psychological needs, and they are as follows. You can even write also, because a few things I have just written and few things are there on the slides. Fine. So first psychological need is utilitarian function. Utilitarian function. You just write down and I'll explain it, how it works or how it forms our attitude. The second psychological need is knowledge function. If you want me to repeat anything, please feel free to write in the comment box. I will repeat the things. The third one, the third psychological need is ego defensive function. Ego defensive function. And the fourth one is value expressive function. Shall I repeat? The first one is utilitarian function. The second one is knowledge function. The third one is ego defensive function. And the fourth one is value expressive function. Fine. If it is written, I'll start explaining what are these psychological needs stand for and how it plays an important role in attitude formation. Attitudes are formed because they help us gain approval from others. If you all are working professionals, you all work in an organization, you can second to this particular psychological need, which is utilitarian function, which says our attitudes are formed because they help us gain approval from others. The way I behave, the way I show my attitude, my people, my colleagues, my other working professionals, they will approve my behavior, and it helps me to behave in that same way, or it helps me to frame that particular attitude. And that attitude is called as instrumental attitude. That is a learned attitude over the period of time for the seeking of approval from others. As we all know, we all are social animals and we always seek approval from the others. Although it's not always good to seek validation or seek approval from the others, but sometimes being into the working areas or some organizations or behaviors, we all should follow these rules or these norms, and that one of these is utilitarian function, which says our attitudes are formed because they help us gain approval from others. Instrumental attitudes. It's sometimes in our interest to get along with majority even if we disagree with them. It's a very important thing to know that sometimes our interest to get along with majority even if we disagree with them. And that is called as conformity. Sometimes if we are not agreeing to certain things or certain ideas, still we have to get along with the majority. How many of you have faced this particular situation? Please, let's.
Ma'am, this can be called as a group think as well.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Most,
Please.
I think almost every one of us must have faced it some or the other way.
Yes, absolutely. This has been faced by everybody of us, and because most of the time we have to go along with the groups, and what is called as we have to be in the group conformity. We have to go along, and that's why we frame certain kind of attitudes, although we don't want that particular attitude as a part of us. But still we have to follow just because to go with the flow. And this happens because we want to be member of that group. Most of the time it happens because we do not want to, get neglected or do not get that attention or something like that. So this is one of the major sources of attitude formation. This is one of the psychological need, or this is utilitarian function. The second one is knowledge function. And what's that knowledge function is? It says holding a particular attitude helps us to predict and organize our social world. It simply says if we are holding a particular attitude, it helps us to organize our social world. As I already said, we all are social animals, and most of the time we think and we behave according to the society norms or social world, or according to that. It are formed as attitude are formed as a part of cognitive schema. Anybody have certain idea about cognitive schemas or schemas? Schemas. What are schemas? Anybody? This is a typical psychological term, schemas. What are schemas? Anybody? Okay. Schemas are the building blocks of our cognitions. They are the mental shortcuts. For example, if a schema of a certain event has been formed, and many more times if we face that same event and we have to behave accordingly, that schema will help us to behave in a certain appropriate way in that particular situation or event. Mental prototype of anything and everything. Yes, they are the mental shortcuts or the building blocks of our cognition. Cognitions are the mental processes like thinking, memorizing, problem solving, and many more things. So cognitions or mental processes, the schemas are the building blocks. So attitudes are form of cognitive schema. Sometimes whatever is being stored in that particular schema and at a particular event or a situation or to a particular person, we act in the same way. So that is the outcome or the byproduct of that particular schema and the information stored in that schema. Knowledge function also helps us prescribe meaning and structure to the world around us. So this knowledge function is more focused towards the social world around us. It's less of us and more of the outer environment. The third one, and that is ego defensive function. This is again a very important psychological need, which is again a good source of our attitude formation. Any idea about ego defensive mechanism? Ego defensive mechanism. Okay, I'll tell you what ego defensive mechanisms are. For example, if I come across a negative situation in my life and I keep on telling this thing to myself, no, this is not negative, this is this, means denial kind of thing or something, I'm denying that particular thing is not going right or well with me. Constantly just want to save my psychological makeup or just want to save my self-esteem part. I'm denying that this something is happening wrong with me. I will use certain ego defensive mechanism. I will deny to that particular thing. They are formed because they help people to protect themselves from acknowledging threatening self-truth. That is a truth and that is a threatening truth. What I am doing is I am just trying to neglect by denying that particular situation or event that is occurring in my life at that particular time of life. So ego defensive mechanisms are again a very important part of attitude formation. They keeps on changing our attitude from time to time in the way that we can protect ourselves from any life-threatening situation or the truths that are real, but we are trying to just suppress them or we are not trying to accept them for the sake of our mental peace. But one and most important thing I would like to share with all of you is prolonged use of ego defensive mechanism can lead us towards mental disorders. If we are constantly using these ego defensive mechanisms, they may lead to mental disorders, and which is actually not a this is not good for our well-being. Because if we will constantly avoiding, neglecting the negative emotions or negative events, negative situation, negative people in our life, they are there. The only thing we are doing is we are neglecting or we are denying the fact that they are there. But what we need to do is we have to take a proper right action towards all these triggers or the stressors or the anxiety triggering events or people in our life. But what we are doing is we are using certain ego defensive mechanism. There are, is ego defense as in, yes, cognitive distortions are different. They are the distortions which we use to think negatively, or which you are absolutely right up to a certain point that ego defensive mechanisms are like cognitive distortions. But cognitive distortions are the distortions and the behavior which is being used against these cognitive distortions are called as ego defensive mechanisms. So yes, of course, there are certain cognitive distortions, and we have to act according to that particular distortion, where we can put efforts and we can remove that distortion for permanently. It's not like that. We can practice such kind of attitude for a longer time just to make sure that we are feeling relaxed, we are feeling peace of mind for that particular point of time. No, it's not the right way to use them for a longer period of time. The next psychological need which helps in formation of our attitude, it is value expressive function. We may develop an attitude that expresses value which are important to us. It helps us to express more general beliefs and values that we hold. So this is again a very good part with which we can form our attitude, and that is value expressive function. For example, if we want to express certain values which are important to us, let me give you an example. If I opted psychology, let's take an example with each of this. Utilitarian function. I opted psychology because I get approval from others that, okay, fine, I take psychology, and most of my friends, the group is taking psychology. I also took it. Knowledge function, which says it helps in prescribe meaning and structure to the world around us. It says, okay, I can do well in psychology. That's why I took it as a subject. Ego defensive mechanism. Here I used the ego defensive mechanism which says I failed to crack the IIT. That's why I preferred psychology. The main thing is value expressive function. It says, okay, fine, this subject is going to serve for the society in a longer run. That is value expressive function. That my values are getting rewarded, my values are getting satisfied, and that's why it helps in the formation of my attitude. So these are the few psychological needs which helps in formation of our attitude, and it really helps in getting a positive or a very balanced kind of attitude in our lives. Let's have a next slide, please. Next slide. Just okay. This is one of the most important part, which says, again, this is one of my most favorite part of anything, because psychology revolves around this ABC model. This is affective, behavioral, and cognitive. Most of the times, or always, it is our behaviors are the outcomes of our thoughts and emotions, and that's it. So here we have again components of attitude. It says the cognitive component, the affective component, and behavioral component. Fine, then if we are talking about cognitive component, it says the aspect of attitude which involves belief or knowledge towards people, object, or thing. That if we have certain beliefs, if we have certain previous knowledge about that particular person, subject, or event, it forms our cognitive component of attitude. The next is affective. As the name says, it is related to our emotions. The aspect of attitude which involves emotions or feeling towards people, object, or things. For example, if I say, I feel joyous while I do certain things, or while I do my work, because I love my work. So that is one of the most important component of attitude, and that is affective component, as it says, emotional component. If we are feeling good, or if we are feeling angry, if we are feeling annoyed, if we are feeling sad, these are the emotions, and that they will give the result of the same or the behavior which is of the same degree to the emotion. So, for example, I feel angry for people who do not follow the rules. So, this is just general example. When we are angry or when we are happy, we are behaving in the same manner which we want to create our own positive attitude. Behavioral component. Again, it says if we want to have a good behavior, we have to think good. And since I always say this is one of the most favorite part of mine, think about your thinking. If you can think about your thinking, you can resolve many more conflicts in your life. This is really important to think about your thinking, which we do not do. And again, pressurizing or emphasizing my words, the conscious thinking about our thinking will result into certain positive behavior and certain positive results. Most of the time, our behavior creates some problems or some challenges or some good things in our life. So if we really want to get good results, we have to work on the thoughts directly. We should not work on the effect or behavior part, because it is regulated by our thoughts. That's why I always say think about the thinking. If we are thinking about our how we are thinking consciously, then only we can get the conscious emotions. Again, an exercise for all of you. All of you, please feel free to do this exercise just for a couple of minutes. What you have to write down on a notepad which you have with you, just write down what you are thinking right now. What you are thinking right now. It's so obvious that whomsoever we are here in this session, it's not always, it's not at all possible to be here in the session throughout the time period. It might be possible that some of you is thinking about something which is more important, or which is actually on a, we all know about that urgent and important things of our life, which is actually more important to the concerned person. So what you can do is just write down what you are thinking, and if you are thinking certain things, write down the behavior, write down the emotion attached to that thinking. That if you are thinking something which happened not so good last day or past few days, and if you're just recalling those things and you get a emotion of anger, hatred, or something, joy, or something like that, what your behavior turns it. Thinking, emotions, and behavior. Just take few minutes, just couple of minutes, and write down. If you are thinking that, okay, fine, I'm learning something, I'm learning about attitude, definitely your emotion of happiness will generate, and your behavior, okay, fine, I'm ready to talk more things on attitude from now, or I can read more things on attitude from now, or something like that, or I can use these things in my life from now. So whatever you are thinking, just get to know about what emotion it is imparting and how you are behaving. Because why I'm emphasizing on this part of both the sessions, because most of the time we get into trouble with our thought process, and the same thing we get into comfort with our thought process. If we are talking about attitude, again I would say our positive self-talk frames us or frames our attitude. We all have read about a beautiful example, like it's a very common example that says the elephant is the heaviest animal in the jungle. The cheetah, the leopard, is the fastest animal in the jungle. the giraffe is the tallest animal in the jungle, but why the lion is considered as the king of the jungle. Very well known to all of you, very well known example we all used to give to our children, to our students most of the times. It says, because he believes that he is the king of the jungle. And why he believes? Because he keeps on telling himself, yes, I am the king. Yes, I am the king. So not to do much, if you are not able to do the activity of thinking, feeling and behaving, just do one thing. Write affirmations. How many of you know about affirmations? I'll keep on telling you few good tools to create a positive attitude or to inculcate few good practices in your life. Just like we started with gratitude, in between we'll be continuing with few good tools. Yes, how many of you know? I think most of you know about the affirmations. Yes, please raise your hand if you know about the affirmations. Anybody? Okay. Okay, Miss Prerna, yes, please unmute yourself. The most active audience, the most active part.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm grateful to you. Yes, we have one more raised hands. Banashri Bharadwaj. Okay, ma'am. I'll come to you also. Yes, Miss Prerna, please, could you throw some light on what
Ma'am,
affirmation
it is actually affirmation is when we affirm something that we have that already and we try to feel, then the universe will send it back to us, or else universe will send it to us. So
Yes.
it is actually generating a positive vibes around us, and the universe will listen and will give it to us.
Wow, that was the energetic one. Great. Miss Prerna, please keep yourself unmuted. If I ask you just quote 3 positive statements, as we all know, affirmations are the positive statements used in the present tense to achieve
Ma'am,
what.
can I give you my example?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I
Yes,
was.
ma'am, actually, I had a coaching institute, and because of this pandemic, it all, went away with me, all that glories, everything, what I did for 3 years completely.
Mhm.
So I had to close down that venture of mine. Then I, started searching for the job, but because what I wanted, I was not getting it. But that does not turn me down. I kept on writing in my diary that I am having a very good job and I'm satisfied with it. I am getting this much of salary and I'm happy with the working environment. And there I am right now. So
Wow, that's amazing. Are you getting emotional by sharing all this?
yeah.
That's the beauty of, the real sense of happiness, and I can feel your true happiness. That's really good to know. I should say wonderful, wonderful. And we got another hand raised. Please, can we please unmute yourself and share your story of affirmation? May I have someone? Someone raised hands, na? Yes, feel comfortable, because this is the way we can exchange our vibes. And I always believe in energies. So the more you people will interact with me, the more we will feel connected with each other. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves, they can freely do so and just share your perception about affirmation, just like Miss Prerna did. And I really congratulate her on her victory, on her journey of affirmations. Yes, fine, no issues. If you are not comfortable, no pressurizing anybody. So fine, if we are talking about affirmations, which are the important tools of framing a positive mindset, a positive attitude, it is something just like Ms. Prerna said, the positive statements which we have to use it consistently. As we all know, nothing works if we are not doing it consistently, or perseverance is the key to success, or to achieve anything. Perseverance, we all know this thing. So affirmations, if we use it in a daily life, if we make it as a ritual of our life, definitely it works. Because as we all know, if we know about the law of attraction or the law of universe, it says we all are energies vibrating at a different frequency. We all are energies vibrating at a different frequency. And if we process our thoughts in on a very high frequency, the positive emotions, definitely the more positivity we'll release, the universe will give us the double the frequency of that particular positive emotion. So that's my personal experience. Just like Miss Prerna shared her experience with all of us, I also keep on writing such affirmations in my affirmation journal, in my journal book, which I always suggest my clients or my participants that please do have that affirmation journal with all of you. Start your mornings with those powerful statements, those powerful words which you can use it for yourself. Either you have it or not, but feel like that you have it already. For example, I am powerful, I am successful, I am happy. This day is going to be the most successful day, the most peaceful day, the most happiest day. I'm having this, I'm having that. You have to make sure that whatsoever you are writing in the present tense, just like you achieved it already. Because this universe works on the principle of ask, believe, and receive, which says first you ask whatever you want from this universe, then you have to believe it that you will definitely get it. And then eventually you will receive it, just like Miss Prerna received it, achieved it, and she is the true example for all of us. So not to waste much time, I request all of you to just use the chat box and write down 3 affirmations for yourself, whichever field you are lacking in and you want the power in that particular area. It can be anything. If you are not having good peace of mind these days, you can write, I am peaceful today. If you are lacking some stability in any area, you can write, I am stable from today, or anything like that. So now please accept my request and use the chat box to write down your affirmations. 3 affirmation. It can be the simplest one. I'm happy, I'm loved, I'm joyous, I'm powerful, I'm successful, and something like that. You can also write at the end of every affirmation that I love myself. Because the more you generate the positive emotion, you are creating a good thought process. Yes, absolutely wonderful, Varsha, Miss Varsha. I am free. Okay, I request all of you to use the chat box and write down your affirmations. Please, at least 5 participants can do so. I just say at least. So please, if anybody wants to unmute themselves and be an active participant sharing their own affirmations, the platform is open to them. Fine. No worries. Okay, I'm strong. That's wonderful. Great to know. Yes, I want more. I'm strong. I'm happy. I'm grateful. Wow. I'm balanced. I'm the greatest person ever born in this planet. I love myself. Wow, that's really wonderful to Miss Varsha, Miss Ekta. That's great. I'm consistently improving. Yes, that's the wonderful one. Using the word consistently. I love this. This is really good to know that you are actually receiving the right words during the session. That consistency is the key to success. I always believe in 3 C's of my life. I will tell you just after this activity. Okay. Ms. Chaudhary is saying, I'm always happy whatever the situation will be. No, I'm always happy. You please do not use will be. I'm happy in every situation. Write down like this. Affirmations writing itself needs a particular guideline. There are 3 P's we relate to it. First is it has to be personal. The second is it has to be positive. And the third one is it has to be positive. 3 P's attached to how you write affirmations. I'm strong, I'm determined, oh, I'm at peace. Yes, wonderful, wonderful. I'm learning a lot about psychology in spite of a student of economics. This is a big, okay, that's good feedback. Absolutely. Psychology is actually, I always wish that it has to be, um, you know, the mandatory subject for students also. From ninth onwards, they should study psychology. I'm happy and contented. That's wonderful. Contentment is one of the great things which we all should seek in our life, or which we all seek in our life. I'm consistently improving and achieving my goals. I'm happy that world is getting out of pandemic. Yes. This is what a great approach, that you are not thinking about yourself, you are equally thinking about the rest of the people or the entire world. Kudos to you, Miss Prerna Nair. That's really wonderful that you wrote something that the world is getting out of pandemic. Amazing. Again, I would like to say that the affirmation should be following 3 P's, and they are personal, positive, and present. It has to be personal, like it has to be attached to you. It should be positive. You cannot write like that, I will not think anything negative. Okay, it is giving the same meaning, like I will think positive, but no, if you are using the word not in your sentence, it is again changing the frequency, the vibration of that sentence. So please try to understand and make sure that the words you use for the affirmation should be in a positive and present tense. I am contented, just like you all have written now. I am peaceful, I am doing this, I am doing that. So it will be very, very, very effective. And this is how we can change the loop or the cycle of our thoughts, which constantly affects our emotions and eventually our behavior and results. So if you really want to change the results in your life, work on your thoughts. And this affirming is one of the greatest tool which you can use since morning till night. Whenever you feel anxious, whenever you feel stressed out, take a long deep breath and affirm that I am peaceful, I am peaceful, I am peaceful. Honestly, before the session, just before 10 minutes, I was so anxious because I just came from my workplace and it was getting a little bit hustle bustle, and I was thinking, oh my God, how will I do it? I just take few long deep breaths and I say, yes, I'm doing it effectively. I'm doing it, and I'm doing it in a very well way. So that thing gives you the courage, that thing gives you the belief that yes, you can do it. Similarly, you all can convey these tools to your students also. This is most amazing thing. First thing which we use in the starting, that was gratitude, and this affirmation tools. Always keep a gratitude journal and affirmation journal with all of you at your bedside, in your bag, at your workplace, everywhere, so that whenever you get that negative loop of thoughts which is eventually affecting your attitudes or your behaviors, your results, it gets corrected in a while, because thoughts are the root cause of everything. Let's have a next slide, please. I always talk much on these components because this is actually the important part of anything regarding psychology. Next slide, please. Just a minute. Let me check. Let's have a next slide. Okay. So now again, as we have studied in the previous slides also. And just like formation, these are the various functions of attitude, which says it helps in adjustment. As we have studied in the group conformity, we know that sometimes we have to adopt certain attitudes which is not, which we do not want, but still we adopt those attitudes just to get approved by the group, and that really helps in the adjustment. And these days when we are looking at various adjustment disorders, this is really important to create a positive approach towards a positive attitude or a positive mindset. Because as we all know, if we are not ready to get adjusted in certain situations or certain events of our life, we will face problems, and the major problem will be like adjustment disorders. Because as we all know, we all are different personalities, we all are not same, we all have different mindsets, we all have different perceptions, we all have different belief systems or core values. Since we have different parenting, we have different genetic compositions, we are not same. So it is really important to get adjusted to live in a better world. So if we are talking about the functions of attitude, it helps us in adjustment. Second thing which we have covered in the previous slide, that says ego defensive mechanism. Again, as I said, ego defensive mechanisms are good to overcome or to not feel so much anxious or to protect our self-esteem. It is good because they are the tools which we usually use to protect our self-esteem and overcome the threatening events. But most of the time, if this has been used, it creates a negative impact on our mental health. Always try to make sure that you are not using these ego defensive mechanisms for a longer period of time. Instead, you should work on certain positive techniques, positive tools to get the right kind of a positive attitude. Value expressive, as I said in my previous slide, that it helps in the value expressive. I have given you the example, like if I opted for psychology and there were certain reasons which is not in the positive way, but still I feel good because it is serving the society on a very positive note. So that's concept of serving for the society itself gives me a motivation, a boost to work more and more in the field of psychology. So it creates a very good value expressive attitude, and it helps in the value expressive things. Knowledge, again, function of attitude is to get knowledge. Let's have another slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. This is probably the last slide for today's session on the power of attitude. Since we had a few things already discussed on how we can have a good positive attitude, it is simply clear to all of you that if we follow certain gratitude things, if we follow self-talks, if we have self-care things, if we surround ourselves with the positivity, it helps us in making positive attitude. But if I ask you about do we do self-care daily? If I ask you, is self-care a selfish one? Definitely you will say no, it's not a selfish thing, because these days we have been said that self-care is the first priority. How many of you agree to it that you are doing self-care? And if I must say, what is self-care? Is self-care taking care of how you look? Is self-care taking care of how you behave? Is self-care taking care of XYZ? According to you, please tell me what is self-care, because this is one of the most important uh, a tip which helps you in gaining the positive attitude, or which helps you in enabling the positive attitude. Please let me know what self-care is. Is it a selfish act? Tell me, is it a selfish act? Yes or no? You can write down anything. Is it a selfish act? Yes, of course. It is not. Then tell me what self-care is. Come on. What self-care is? If we are talking about self-care, since past few years, I guess, it was not into so much limelight, the self-care. It's been COVID times that majorly most of the people started talking about, okay, self-care means caring about my family as well as my society. How it can be a family and a society? Okay, right. One's mental, emotional, and spiritual well being. Fine. Let me clear you one thing. Self care is exactly what you said recently: mental, emotional, and spiritual well being. Let me explain you with the help of an example. Can you pour from an empty jug? You cannot. You have to be fulfilled firstly, then only you can pour to others. If you have them, only you can draw. So unless you are safe there. Yes, of course. What I was saying, you cannot pour from an empty jug. If the things are missing in you, if the emotions are lacking in you, you cannot impart the emotion to the person or to someone in your life, in your family, or in your society. You have to be meant at well-being of mental, spiritual, or emotional. For example, if it's a very humorous example I used to quote, if I ask you for coffee and you have tea in your cup, will it be possible to offer a cup of coffee to me? The condition is you should not stand or you should not go anywhere. You have a tea in your cup and I want coffee. Can you offer the coffee to me? Please tell me that thing. Can you offer coffee to me? Means at that point, that moment only. Yes or no? Obviously, it's a no. Am I right? Yes or no? No, of course. You cannot offer a coffee to me. Similarly, it's regarding emotion. If someone is seeking love, if someone is seeking kindness, if someone is seeking certain emotion from you, will you be able to give if you are not having that particular emotion? Tell me one thing. Tell me, will you be able to give that particular emotion to that person? No, not at all, because you yourself is not having that emotion. So that's a very important thing, to take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Mind, body, soul, they are in the proportion, they should be aligned with each other, because as we all know, they are interrelated with each other. If your mind get affected, your body gets affected and your soul get affected. So if you really want to get the well-being state, the flourishing state, or the thriving state, you should know that these all points are really important to get the positive attitude. And out of these all, I must say self-care is the first and the foremost one. In the aeroplanes, when we travel, it has been said that put your oxygen mask first of all before helping others. All of you must have heard this thing from the air hostesses, that in emergency, put your oxygen mask first. It is not a selfish act. It is something, if you can save yourself, only then you can save others. So that is the most important part of self-perception, because as we all know, we have studied in the previous slides that self-perception is one of the most important foundation for positive attitude. If you are perceiving yourself right, if you are perceiving yourself positive, your belief and core values about yourself, is the positive one, definitely you will show the positive behavior or the positive attitude. For that, you need to take care of yourself. You need to nourish yourself or nurture yourself with the positivity. As the day before yesterday also we had a discussion on, our mind is just like a garden, and it's our duty to plant good seeds or to plant weeds, or some or other time we keep on planting weeds in the form of negative thoughts, unknowingly, unconsciously. So whenever it has come to the point of acting positive or behaving positive or thinking positive, it is always important to give a conscious thought upon how you are thinking, how you are feeling, and how you are behaving. So that's all about the positive attitude. Now we have 15 minutes left. If you have any questions regarding attitude or the power of attitude, or anything regarding sources, foundation, or functions of attitude, feel free to ask me. Otherwise, we can have a feedback time also. So this is all about the positive attitude. And as I already said, life is 10% happens to us and 90% how we react to it. No situation can give result without your reaction, and that reaction is the attitude. How you are behaving, how you are reacting, and how you are taking the things in your own way. So now, yes, of course, I would like to know the genuine, the honest feedbacks from all the learned personalities present here as the participants. Anybody? Or we can end the session. Okay. Thank you so much for your valuable comments, for your valuable feedback. As we have learned from Johari window, that feedback is really important tool for the self-awareness, and it has to be the honest and the genuine ones. Thank you for giving me your feedbacks. I'm really overwhelmed and grateful to all of you. If you want anybody from your side, you can unmute yourself and just give me the audio feedback from your side. Thanks a lot.
Ma'am, it was really of my interest. I just enjoyed the session thoroughly.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much.
I too enjoyed your company because you were the most active participant, and this is one of the most important thing. When you are enjoying, then only you are responding to certain things. So life is so simple. We should enjoy every little moment so that we can have the memories. So thank you so much. At the same time, Ms. Prerna, thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Thank you.
Anybody else? It would be a good motivation for me if you can share your feedback or any questions. Okay. The question is how we entangle ourselves from the past mistakes. A very good question, and I'm really happy to answer few questions. If anybody, anyone from your side have few questions from the psychological perspective, you can ask me. Feel free to ask me. Okay, then past mistakes. You want to entangle yourself from the past mistakes. I must say one thing, that our past experiences, the traumatic events, frames our personality up to a certain level, frames our attitude, frames our perception towards the same kind of events and situations in our life. But if we can learn something, we can unlearn also. That's the most important phenomena of psychology, unlearn to learn. If you really want to lead a happy, successful life, try unlearning them. If you will ask, study materials and references, yeah, sure. I'll share with Dr. Aradhna so that she can convey the same to all of you. So when we are discussing on the how to entangle the past mistakes. This is really important to get rid of your past traumatic events or past experiences. Now you will ask how we can get tangled. How is a very important thing, that if you are experiencing certain trauma or certain thing which is creating trouble in your everyday life, get a thought book or thought record book and start writing what are those things which you did and what happened due to your actions or due to your behavior in the past. If you have said about the past mistakes, definitely you are feeling yourself as a culprit. You are feeling yourself as a person who did that and you are suffering till date. Write down what mistake you did. Write down what happened after that mistake. Write down what was the experience you gained from that event. Now, turn the situation. What would be possible if things were different? If things were different, similarly, simply saying that if you did not do that thing, that mistake that you are considering by yourself, what you can what would you have done positively that changed the result or that changed the experience? If the answer comes in a very different way, write down the answer in your thought record book. Now, the another most important thing, getting insight about that particular event. Just sit with a person, and it's not a person, it's an empty chair technique we usually use in our counseling. Empty chair technique says sit down and just convince that person with the same problem, how you will convince to that person that if it happened in the past, okay, fine, why you are just dragging that past till date in your life. If you will drag, it will create difficulties to you. If it has been done in the past, let it be in the past, because past always creates problems. P creates P. But if you will convince one of your friends just feeling on an empty chair, you will get the insight that how you will overcome from the particular situation. Because since you only shared the past mistakes, you have not said like mistake done by you or mistakes done by someone else or what actually happened. So here we can just say this thing like, take a thought record, write down that particular thought which made you did that mistake, what happened after that mistake, what you learned from that mistake, and then sit at a place with an empty chair in your at the front and ask your friend to do whatever you can say if she has done the same thing in the past. You will definitely get the insight how you yourself can overcome from that particular situation. You can use the help, you can take the help of various art mediums. Whenever you feel disturbed, just take few colors. I really advocate art therapies in my sessions where you can use a few colors and you can use a few art pieces, and then you can like mandalas, doodlings. These are the most important therapeutic tools which we can ask a person who is actually struggling with his or her past. So the way you will doodle, the way you will make the mandalas, the way you will use the colors, it will definitely make you out from that past negative experience, the traumatic experience. So these are the few things which you can do, and if you want more thing, you can directly connect with me. If Dr. Aradhana has my number and everything, so we can talk more upon that. Okay, thank you. Any more questions so that we can answer them and then end up the session?
Any more questions from the participants? A few more if we can have from the participant side, a few more questions, maybe some feedback. Already I can see a lot of thank you messages to ma'am. I think they have enjoyed a lot. It was a really interesting session.
Thank you so much.
So dear participants, do we have any more questions?
I guess no more questions, no issues. So shall we end up the session or?
Yes, if you have any ending note, you can go forward.
Okay, fine. The only thing, yes, of course, Dr. Aradhana, I'm really grateful to you for always keeping the things on a very positive note. The only thing I would like to throw light upon is having a positive attitude is really the tool for success, the key to success in our life. And if you are thinking positive and if you are acting positive, definitely nobody can stop you from getting the positive attitude. As we all know, we keeps on perceiving negatives in our life most of the time. As I was just I started the story and it got interrupted in between. A professor who came into the classroom and gave a paper to all the students, a empty paper with a black dot on it, and asked every student to just write down about that paper. Unfortunately, each and every student wrote down upon the black dot on the paper. The black dot on the paper was just a black, simple, a small dot. But they failed to look at the part where we can write, where we can color, where we can do anything of our own choice. So, this is the irony of the life, that we keep on focusing on the negatives of our life instead of focusing on the positives. But that's not our problem. That is something which I keep on using the word called negativity bias. It's our brain's tendency to focus more on the negatives happening in our life instead of what's more positive happening in our life. But if we really want to think more positive, I always teach it to my students also, that I refused asking for shoes. I refused asking for new shoes. It's just an anecdote kind of thing. When I look at the person with no feet, I refuse asking always for new shoes when I look at the person with no feet. It simply says we should be grateful for whatever we have instead of just cribbing on what we do not have. Because that one quality of us creates the positive attitude in us. And really, I advocate this quality or this habit of creating a gratitude journal or just following the gratitude, because it gives us that process, the pattern. As I said in the earlier session, we all are human beings, plus we all are patterns. We are not just human beings. I must correct my words. We all are patterns. We work on our patterns. We behave according to our patterns. The more we inculcate the habits of these beautiful things in our life, like affirmations, the gratitude, empathy, compassion, it gives us the good vibe, the good pattern, and we behave accordingly. If we talk about the gratitude, last few days when we all were struggling from COVID, there was a beautiful story came into existence on all the social media platforms, and that was called as the 10th apple effect. The story was as follows. It says, a hunter get into the jungle and he got misleaded in the jungle and he just forgot his way and he was so anxious, he was so worried. Now what will happen? 2-3 days passed away and he do not left out with any food. He was so much hungry and he was constantly praying to the God, please, 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 I will die if I will not get some food to eat. I'm starving, this and that. Fortunately, he found an apple tree. He found an apple tree and he was so happy. He was just praying to the God. He was thanking to the God anonymous. He was saying, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, God, that I found this apple tree. When he reached to the apple tree, he just got the apples, like he was so hungry. He got 10 apples at the same time and he sat down and started eating apple. He got one apple and then he was so happy. Wow, so juicy, so tasty, so good apple it is. With the second, third, fourth, fifth apple, he was so happy and he was constantly uh, saying thank you to God for getting this apple, and he was feeling good because now he was not so hungry. With the sixth apple, he stopped saying thank you. He stopped being grateful. With the seventh, eighth, ninth apple, he started just criticizing the quality of apple. He started saying, oh my God, this is not so juicy. This is not so sweet. This is not so good. This is the real and true example. By the 10th apple, he failed. He failed giving gratitude to the same thing which he was looking for in the starting. Same thing we did. If we look at the COVID times, we all were so much worried about the oxygens, we were so much worried about the beds in the hospitals, and this is something we always avoid, we always ignore in the general life setups. We always do not take much care of these things in our life, which is really very disheartening, or which is really very threatening for the future life of ourselves. So we should not do so, because I always believe the more you will be having all these positive traits in you, the more positive attitude you all can frame. And that is the power of attitude, that you can rule the world. As I told you the story about the lion, though he is not the strongest, he's not the tallest, he's not the heaviest, still he is the king of jungle. So we all are the king and queens of the jungles, because we believe in it and we all have the power of attitude in it. Thank you so much. With this note, that we all are the kings and queens. Thank you so much.
Such a wonderful note, and it's a very beautiful story. And I think after attending session, filled with so much of positivity, I think every participant will feel that he or she has an increased space of positivity around him or her. That was a really, really wonderful session and very motivating, very inspirational. A lot of takeaways too, and immense help it will be of to every participant and every listener in this session. Thank you so much for giving us a beautiful time here, your valuable time and dedication in taking up this session has and will be greatly beneficial for each one of us. So I offer my gratitude, my thanks on behalf of all the participants, on behalf of the organizing committee of Electronics and Communication Department of Gauhati University. I offer you my heartiest thanks. Thank you, ma'am. Hope to see you very soon in other FDP too, just like you have been with us throughout in the last FDP as well as this FDP. It has been a really good association with you, and we are very thankful for this. Thank you, ma'am, so much.
Thank you so much to you, Dr. Aradhna, and thanks to all of the wonderful, great participants, a great audience I can have. So thank you so much. Yes.